the one, the only Steve Aoki. Get loud, Skype Live Studio! Woo. I want to say, first of all, congrats on your Grammy nomination.
Thank you.
I was like, dude, this guy is doing big things. You've always been doing big things, but a Grammy nomination is a big deal. So
yeah, that was it was crazy to be sitting there during the Grammys and watching everything go down. Yeah. I was sitting right next to Chance.
Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, the Chance was like right across from me, and he was just winning everything. I was so happy for him. Like, he deserved all those wins. And yeah, it was great.
Chicago native, man. I'm from Chicago, so
that's cool.
Chance the Rapper. So yeah, so I got to sit down and watch your documentary. I'll sleep. What is it? I'll sleep when I'm dead. It came up actually. I was watching. Have you ever seen the Doors documentary on there with Val Kilmer? It's just like a biopic. It came up. Hey, if you watch this, you also might like this, and then it's just your documentary.
That's why I love Netflix.
Dude, that's awesome. It's
Netflix
a suggestion.
is the best.
So I sat down and watched it, and I was actually with my lady watching it, and I was almost on edge, like, because it was just, it hit home for me, you know, because I grew up playing in bands like yourself, and you started talking about your family and started talking about your dad, and and this is just me venting to you, because I tried to convince my dad that music was a thing that I was gonna do, and I was in screamo bands and bands called Touch Me Touch You and bands called All My Heroes, and my dad just like, maybe you should just listen to the radio. I'm like, maybe I should get into radio. So, did you have any like weird band names? Like, what was the weirdest band name you had?
Can I say cuss words right now or no?
Yeah.
Well, I had a band called You. And that was we played one show and we had a cassette demo.
Cassette demos are the coolest, man. I had a karaoke machine. And it was a 2-track, so I could play guitar and then record over the top of it.
I had a lot of a band called Esperanza, a band called This Machine Kills, a band called The Fire Next Time. I named a band after my ceramics high school teacher. Because he was so cool, so the band was called Good Hugh, because that was his last name.
Right. Yeah. Did he ever come to a show?
No, he would never. You know,
no, he wasn't feeling it. I had an art teacher, and she failed me in art. So I didn't think you could ever be failed at art. Like, it's art, you know. Like, I don't know. Art teachers are weird.
And look at where you are now.
I know, right? Look at where you are now. I get to sit next to Steve Aoki. You are the pioneer of electronic music, man. I wish I could have spent like just 4 seconds watching you at Dim Mak Tuesdays. Is it Banana Splits? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, we had both parties. Yeah.
I really wish I could have just seen you. Like, where did you decide you were going to get out of being a frontman for a band or being in a band to go straight to spinning music? Like, how does that fall into place?
I'd say the label was the thread that kind of followed into that path. Like, I was in bands, and at the same time I was putting out records, and I was putting out very similar bands that I was playing. But then I started putting out bands that, you know, that didn't sound like me, that I liked. Like, actually a band from Seattle called Pretty Girls Make Graves.
Nice.
That was the first EP that really blew up for me. And then we put out this band called The Kills, their first EP. And then a band called Block Party. And then a lot of indie bands.
Right.
And then when I moved to LA, I started throwing indie parties where I was DJing, but having all these bands come and DJ. And then we had our own little thing going on, where we would, you know, it wasn't really about, it wasn't rave. It wasn't like the rave scene. It was like, it's this indie hipster little, you know, party with like, you know, about this crowd right here, just jamming out, hanging out, you know. Right. And then that grew into what we're talking about, Dim Mak Tuesdays and Banana Split with DJ AM. Right. And then this whole, you know, the indie scene and the electro scene at the time were merging, and it was like creating a lot of noise. And then all these, you know, the hip hop scene was coming in. Like Kid Cudi was performing, and Kanye would come through, and the same time you see that Jimmy Iovine pop his head in, and Lady Gaga would want to play at our shows and did. And Skrillex was like breaking. He was like coming to every party,
first to last, and going to your parties.
Right.
Man,
so it was a lot of like emo kids were coming out, and hip hop kids. I mean, just like it was all like this really cool scene where social media wasn't a thing, because this was like MySpace era, right? So you had to be there to actually to like be a part of the sound, the culture. Right. So like the Will.i.ams and all the people that were actually making hits were coming to our party, like getting inspired, and getting inspired by all these new DJs that were making all this, this new sounds. And then he was going back to his studio and then shaking up the world that way. So we had a good footprint in LA.
That's awesome. And watch, if you haven't seen the documentary yet, go on Netflix right now. Steal your friends' passwords, because I know you got people out here that have a Netflix password. Watch this guy's documentary, man. It hit home, just because, like I said, my dad was pretty much the same way, dude. I wanted to make it known to my dad that I can do this, this. It just hit home for me, man, because being in bands as well, like, dude, there was really no social media besides MySpace, so I would go to the Macy's with flyers and just put them in pants pockets, man, dude. That was where it was at. So no tweets. I couldn't send out a tweet and say, hey, we're playing this show. But so from this documentary that you had put out, this movie, this epic, it was probably one of the coolest things. You're one of the hardest working DJs in the business, if not the hardest. Was there like a message that you wanted to for other DJs or people to take away from what the documentary that you had put out? Was there anything specific or?
I'd say from the doc, the best part about it for me, because actually I can't really watch the doc because it's very personal, so it's hard to like watch yourself talk about something that it's hard to talk about in itself. But I'd say the best feedback is like how people connect with it, just like you're connecting with it, and how it's like we live completely different lives, right?
Totally,
but the fact is we have parents, and they have their own impression of what they want for their children, and they want the best. You know what? They want the best for you. They want security, stability, and what we do is not stable.
Nope.
It's not secure, and for the most part, it's like it doesn't amount to a financial success.
Right.
So that's the thing that I learned, is that my success was never about like money. It was about what makes me happy, and then eventually I made money, but that's not the point of the story. Really, totally. The point is like what makes you happy and how to surround yourself with that kind of people. So and connecting with people that are going through the same thing. I'm just glad that the director and the people involved in this film, they asked me to go there. Right. To go back in time and talk about those things, and it's hard to go through that open that door. It was a difficult process.
Right. And like I said, if you haven't seen the documentary yet, it's called "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead." This guy doesn't sleep, it looks like, in the documentary. So go check it out. Steal your friends' Netflix passwords and go check out this movie.